Hello, everyone. So glad to see you here. Today, we're going to have a lunch and learn. Lone Wolf is offering a soft launch of Transact, its new upgraded platform. Transact includes edit with ease forms, task management, and mobile friendly accessibility. Eventually, the plan is a complete migration to Transact. For the next several months and likely into 2027, you'll be able to toggle back and forth between ZipForm Plus and Transact. Today is the first look at the upgrade. John Ashley is the senior product trainer with Lone Wolf, who provides our ZipForm program. John has 9 years of experience working in the real estate software industry and has trained tens of thousands of real estate agents. Welcome, John.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be able to connect with the main association today. And thank you, Judy, Suzanne, and Tanya, for allowing me to have some time with your members. I actually had to recalculate that time. It's now 12 years in the industry. I need to I need to refresh what I said on
Yeah,
there. So
thank you.
I sat down the other day and I was like, wait a second, I'm older than that now. Uh, sure, many of you have had those moments where you had to sit there and go, okay, it's been a little longer than I thought. So well, it is a real pleasure to be able to connect with the main association. And there's some of you that I've actually connected with possibly in the past for other products. We do have other tools that you may have already added. So hopefully some of you are repeats and have seen me before. But thank you so much for that introduction. And as Ms. Judy was talking about, we are going to be talking about Transact. So making sure that you understand the process. A couple things to keep in mind. I love it when you ask questions. And so if you do have questions, those questions are desired. And so I want to make sure that you ask anything that you might need. Also, going through here, this is going to be the agenda of piece by piece of how we're going to be handling the training today. We're going to start about the transfer process, and as was spoken, the transfer process does not mean ZipForm is disappearing. Okay, so ZipForm is still going to be available. You are going to be able to transition back from ZipForm to Transact, back to ZipForm, so you can go back and forth without any problems whatsoever. We are going to create a Transact user, and I'm going to borrow Tanya's account. Thank you, Tanya. I'm using a live account example for creating a Transact user. Usually, I go through a slideshow and show you what it might look like, but for today's training, we get a little bit of a treat and we actually get to use a live example. So that's really, really wonderful. We're going to talk about the home page and then how to create a transaction. And then also take a small amount of time and talk about the Authenticign tool. Many of you have used Authenticign within ZipForm already, and that tool has not changed. Thankfully, that's a big piece there that has not changed. And so we're just going to take just a minute just to touch on it. I want to make sure everybody feels comfortable, at least getting your forms over into Authenticign from Transact. And finally, this is one of my favorite pieces of the product, which is property phases. So when we talk about offers that unfortunately fall through, or we talk about a terminated listing, usually it can be kind of a difficult process. And for many of you, maybe you've tried to create new transactions or you try to move everything over to a folder. Well, with the new property phases, this is a much, much easier process. So as I was stating earlier, usually I have this slideshow that I go through, but instead we are going to go into a live account. And so I'm borrowing Tanya's account, and many of you will see the get started there at the top of the page where it says get started there at the top. Some of you, if you create a transaction, it'll also ask you if you would like to try out the new Transact. As I was saying, that's not going to remove your ZipForm account. It's just going to make it so you have access to both now, both Transact and ZipForm. Also, and you may have heard this already, if you have,
Can I interrupt for a
mhm,
moment?
yeah,
What
go
we're
ahead.
seeing right now is frequently
Oh,
asked questions.
yeah, let me make sure that I am sharing the whole window. Sorry about that. Make sure that I'm sharing the entire window here. Ah, okay. It's only content only. Got it. Okay, let me reshare this new window. Sorry about that. I usually am operating out of Teams, and the Zoom settings are a little different for this Zoom webinar than what I'm used to, but I'm good now, so no worries. You should be able to see my zip form page now. Is that correct? Everybody seeing zip form here?
Yes.
Perfect. Wonderful. Yeah, my apologies for I just need to make sure and get used to these new the Zoom settings on there where I need to go back and forth between the slides and the other. So my apologies. Excellent. So we're going to click on Get Started. And this part is very, very simple. As soon as you click on Get Started, it's going to take you to a page to create your Transact account, or normally it would. In the moment, it's not wanting to allow me to go in. So give me 1 second to try that again. Probably I sat there a little too long and it probably logged me out of zip form. Doesn't want to let me do it. Let me try it from here. All right. Well, I'll have to take a look at Tanya's account later, determine why it's not letting me move over immediately. Usually would let me move over without a problem. For this moment, it's saying, I don't want to let you in. Okay, I understand that. So we'll probably go over to the slideshow instead. My apologies. Let me try it one more time. More than likely, it's because we're on my computer right now, not on your normal device. So let me reshare with the slides here and we'll just go through the slides. So small technical issue, no worries. We'll just go through the slides and then I'll switch back over. So normally when you click on Get Started, and again, this is just a technical issue on my end, not something that you would experience, you would click on Get Started. And when you do, it will then take you to this page where you're going to plug in your email address. More than likely, mine is a computer issue, so sorry about that. But normally, you're going to be able to then plug in your email address. And when you do and hit continue, so you will then get a verification code. You'd grab that verification code and just plug it in and say, yes, this is my email address. Many of you are pretty used to this. This is just a normal application for the first time. Usually you plug in your email and you get a code just to prove that that's an actual email address, right? So you would grab that and be able to enter in. Then when you get into Foundation itself, it will have two options, Transact and Zip Form. Transact and Zip Form available. And as I was talking about earlier, you are going to be able to go back and forth between the two products without a problem. Okay. So you will be able to go from Transact into Zip Form without any issues. From there, if you go into Transact, you will be able to access all of your zip form transactions. And even when eventually down the road there, even when eventually the product will actually sunset the zip form product, and we're talking again 2027, there'll be ample warning to everyone. You don't have to worry about not knowing when it's going to happen or anything like that. We're going to make sure that everybody is very well informed on exactly when that change is going to occur, okay? When that change does occur, you still will always have access to your zip form transactions, and you'll find that in Transact itself with the little slider. For now, though, you still will be able to log into zip form without any problems, okay? If you click on any of those transactions within Transact, it's then going to take you to a miniature zip form page where you can finish out that transaction. So you can still complete any active transactions, even when that sunset does eventually occur. You're still going to be able to complete any active transactions within the zip form application there. And again, you're always, always, always going to have access to them. So you're never going to lose access to your zip form transactions, even when down the road the program does eventually sunset. So let's go through a couple frequently asked questions. Let's start first with the will the transactions move over? And you just saw, yes, transactions in zip form will move over to Transact. Now, this is a one-way connection here. So any transactions created within Transact, those are unfortunately not going to appear in zip form. So it only works one direction, okay, from zip form to Transact. You will be able to complete all of your active and under contract listings even after the program does eventually sunset. You may wonder, what about my contacts and my templates in zip form? Contacts that are connected to a transaction, those will always move over with the transaction. So you'll always be able to find those. There is a difference with your address book, though. So some of you have saved your contacts to the zip form address book. For those, and specifically those, there is a one-time migration over from the address book in zip form into the address book of Transact. So that, unfortunately, is only going to be a one-time transfer, but every single contact that you attach to a transaction, those will always move over with the transaction. It's specifically the address book that's going to have that one-time migration. It is going to be the same with templates. Templates will have a one-time migration from zip form into Transact. Unfortunately, with those two, we can't have that constant connection point like we do with the transactions. My apologies. Last question, and this is a big question, and this is the big question that I get everywhere. Why are we making the change? ZipForm has been a fantastic application. Many of you have been using ZipForm for 15 plus years. And so many of you have, when you're going through your processes there, you're just used to plugging in, opening up ZipForm, and away you go, right? If any of you have worked in the text technology sphere, all of you know, unfortunately, when it comes to technology, there is an eventual expiration date. All technology just gets to a point where we're no longer able to make updates to the product. We're no longer able to make connections with newer products that are on the market. So some of you are working with some new CRMs, or you're working with some new accounting tools. And we would love to be able to connect with a lot of those newer products out there. But because we are using code that was written over a decade ago, it can be very difficult and sometimes impossible to connect with some of the newer systems. Also, as we're looking at the future of where real estate's going, we start talking about AI resources and things like, for example, when you add a listing agreement, what if the product could say, hey, did you make sure to also add a seller's disclosure? Usually you do. Or maybe even a tool that helps you remind you some fields that you might have missed as you're going through. Now, those features are not available yet in Transact, but those are the kind of things that we want to be able to look forward to. We want to kind of be able to dream and be able to put those upgrades and things that you would like to see in the product. We'd love to be able to add those into Transact and add them into our future products. With ZipForm, unfortunately, because of the way that was coded, we're never going to be able to make those type of upgrades. Also, there comes a point with technology, and everybody that works technology knows this, where you have your two lines here, the ability to upgrade, and then you have your maintenance cycles, right? And we've just gotten to the point with ZipForm that all we can do is that general maintenance, and eventually that's going to fall away as well, where we're no longer even able to do that as much with the application anymore. And so, in order to make it so that you will have access to an amazing transaction management system, in order to be able to move forward into the future of where real estate is going, in order to be able to connect with all those applications that you love and use daily, we needed to make an unfortunate big change that I know is going to be difficult for some. Some of you are like, change can be very hard. And we're sorry that we had to make a change. We love ZipForm too here. But, with technology, you just have to eventually make that change, make that decision. And I'm hoping after today's training, that many of you will feel far more comfortable with the Transact system And so you're going to feel comfortable moving into that system, trying it out, creating some test transactions. I want to make this application as easy as possible for you and as pain-free as possible, okay? So first, get signed up with a new account. And after you get signed up with a new account, it will then take you over into the Transact system. And let me go ahead and share my new screen here. Some of you will be taken into a home screen. With the home screen, you'll see Transact and zip form. Some of you will be taken directly into Transact itself. Either way, the top left-hand side will have both Transact and zip form, and you'll be able to toggle back and forth between the two anytime that you need to. You'll be able to go back and forth anytime that you need between the two applications. If you are working under a brokerage, so if your account specifically is working under a brokerage, your broker might need to sign up first before it'll become available to everyone else. I just want to be very clear on that. If you're an individual agent account, you should have access and be able to do this today. Some of you might be working under a brokerage, and in that instance, the broker might need to sign up first before you are able to look at moving over to a new account. Okay. Just want to be real clear on that, as that might cause some concern. If you don't see that highlighted portion that you can click on, just know that some of you are working under an office, and with offices, they need to actually move over to Transact first so they can move their templates and such. Okay. But most of you are going to be working on individual agent accounts. You're not going to have to worry about that. And you'll be able to go directly into Transact. If you are on the home screen, you don't have to, but you can add an MLS agent ID if you would like to get some of your stats. Again, you do not have to do this. But if you would like to see some of your production numbers coming from the main association, you can see that on this home screen. And so we do have that as an available tool. It's free for you to be able to see. You don't have to do this, but if you would like to, you can. Either way, you're going to be able to go into Transact and you're going to see the deal tracker. So, Lauren asked a good question about AI integration. We're a ways out before anything like that will occur. So, and understand too, when I say AI is such a general term, so understand that by AI integration, I don't necessarily mean like integrating with Claude or anything like that. It could be something as simple as when you add a listing agreement, it asks you if you'd like to add a seller's disclosure. That would actually count as AI helping you, you know. So think more like Clippy helping you with different parts of it at the beginning there. Not don't think of it like, oh, it's ChatGPT or Grok or Claude doing all the work and all that. Don't think of that sphere, okay? All right, so now we're in the
Can,
Transact system, and
can I
there are
ask
the.
one question about the
Go ahead.
AI?
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Somebody wants to know if there will be an option to be able to turn that off.
That's what I was answering.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not don't think of it necessarily as like a big connection point. So that's what I was meaning, that it's not necessarily something that you would need to be turned off. It's more just kind of helpful questions along the way. Like I said, think more like Clippy. Uh, for those that are a little bit older generation there that remembers Clippy and Microsoft Word and such, right? That's more where it's going to begin. Not like some of you are seeing with what Claude and all them can do right now. That's not where we would start with all of that. And so once we get into more resources like that, then we'll look at on and off buttons for that kind of stuff, and the ability to choose like what you would like to see and not see. But in the beginning, it's going to be more like basic things to be able to just assist you from there. So you can connect with CRM tools if you would like. Right now, this connects with a contact tool called Relationships, But the future idea of this is to be able to connect with whatever CRM that you would like to get connected with. And no, Paul, so technically, Transact is not a CRM tool. It's a transaction management system. Okay. So CRM would be more like the marketing piece and being able to send out marketing emails and such. Transact is not able to do that. It's more about making sure your forms and everything are filled out properly from your clients, your sellers, and your buyers. All right, let's go ahead and select and create a new transaction. You're going to have the options to select listing or purchase, lease listing, lease here. For a brand new list side transaction, you will have, for all of these, you will have the option to import listing data over from the main association of realtors. You'll also have an option for tax source. So with a new list side transaction, I highly suggest using tax source because you don't want to use an expired or closed listing ID because it'll bring over all of that old detail, all of the old information. It'll bring over the old list age. It'll bring over the old brokerage. You don't want to add that on to a brand new listing, right? So for a list side transaction, I highly suggest tax source. If you're doing a purchase representing the buyer, I highly suggest connecting with Maine Association of Realtors because that will make it so that you can automatically pull all the details in for the active listing. Okay. I'm going to skip over both just in case you do have a circumstance where it's for sale by owner or something like that. I am going to do a purchase side transaction. So we'll move on to the transaction details. And we're just going to do a 6/2/26 Main Living Way. Make sure and throw in Main Association there. Just a little fun there. And of course, we got to do this out of the great city of Augusta, right? And then we would just continue to plug in our additional details. So state, zip code, county. So we're just going to make sure to plug in as much information as possible. The more information that you include, the less you're going to have to include on your forms. So just do your best to fill out as much information as possible so that you will not have to worry about adding this onto your forms later on, okay? And then we'll move on to offer details. You can also plug in a photo if you'd like. A lot of this is optional. Do you want to be able to include this or not? It's really up to whatever is going to be best for you in these instances. And again, though, the more that you fill out, the less that you have to fill out onto your forms. Then we have things like the purchase price, we have deposit dates, so offer dates here. So again, just additional details, everything making it so that it's an easier process, okay? And then finally, we have parties, and it will automatically add you in as the agent. You're just going to need to add individuals in like the buyers, the sellers, whichever contacts that you might be working with. Let's just do one question I do get consistently, and that is what if I am working with an estate, an LLC, any type of corporation, plug in the company name under first and last name here. So if it was like Patrick Blue signing on behalf of Green Agency Trust LLC, you'll plug all of that in under first and last name, and then Patrick Blue here would be the preferred signer. I'll go ahead and select save. We go ahead and add in one more party here. Just going to add in another buyer. I got Patrick. Suzanne, I'm just going to borrow your first name there. I'm always trying to come up with new names here. So we'll just go ahead and put that in and select to save to contacts. So you'll add whatever parties that you can. One quick setup here. Let's say that you are doing a new purchase side transaction, but unfortunately, you don't know where they're going to be turning in the offer just yet. You can go from selecting purchase straight to adding parties. And then you'll just add the property and offer details later. Because I know in the beginning you may need to just get that buyer signed up saying that they are going to use you as a real estate agent. So you don't have to put in property and offer details for a purchase side transaction. A listing, though, on the other hand, you're working with a seller, they're selling something. So in that instance, of course, you're going to be putting in the property information for a list side transaction. But for a purchase where you have a buyer and you don't know the property yet, you can skip over the other steps and go straight to parties and then create your transaction. For today's training, we're going to say we already know where they want to turn in their first offer. It's going to automatically add a couple folders into paperwork. Here in a second, I'm going to show you how to add your forms and documents. Let's take just a moment, though, to navigate the system before we dive deep into paperwork. So on the left-hand side, if you follow my mouse on the left, you're going to see details where you can add additional parties. This will be your list agent. If it didn't automatically add that in, it will be your sellers, your title companies. It's going to be adding everybody in there that you may need. So just go ahead. I'm just plugging in one of my coworkers here as a contact and getting them saved. So you'll be able to add the additional party members. If there's any adjustments that need to be made to the property details, or if you want to go ahead and import the property details, you can do that here. Just be sure to select save for any adjustments you've made. And then next we have the offer details. So this will again include offer expiration and such as well. At the top of the page, you're going to see a couple items. Paperwork is where we're going to be diving in deep in a moment for forms and documents. Signings here is where we can create our signing packets separate from where I'll show you. There's a better process though for signing, so stick with me. But you will also be able to keep track of any signing packets here as well. Next, we have compliance. This would just make it so that you, with compliance on here, this is just for those that are working under an office. So if your office does have some compliance pieces where you're turning in documents for review, this is part of that compliance process. So not all of you are going to see compliance, okay? Only those that are working under an office, and that office would then create templates for compliance, okay? So if you don't see it, it's okay. That just means you're an individual agent. You're not connected to an overall office account that has document compliance, okay? As an agent, you can create your own to-do list. You can even attach to-do list onto a personal template. And a to-do list is just very, very basic. So like, maybe this is my purchase side one. This is going to be action items that you want to have completed. So, did I, let's say here, schedule inspection, right? Schedule appraisal, get final gift sets, prepare for closing. Did I contact title company? And so this can be all kinds of different things, and you can set due dates for notifications, either based on specific dates, or you can make them relative to particular dates. Like, let's say within 5 days of the acceptance date, we want to make sure to schedule with the inspector, or 2 or 3 days. We want to make sure and get that done. And again, I can set up those notifications, and I can also select to save. And you could add add anything that you need to for the ability to see the different to-do items. And when they're done, all you have to do is click on it, and it's been completed. Timeline will also connect with to-do list. So you can have on to-do and with the timeline on there. It is going to be able to connect quite easily to be able to see the important dates. We are not connected yet to Google and Outlook. I know there's someone that asked about syncing it. That is something that we would like to do in the future, is make it so things like to do and timeline will be able to connect to your Outlook calendar and your Google Calendar. Those are future upgrades that we want to get added into the system. They're not there just yet, but we would like to add that in later on. And you can also add events onto the timeline, so open houses and specialty events that are occurring. Maybe you want to mark on there, maybe you want to mark currently like, hey, the house is empty for the next week, so it's a go and show during this time period. You set yourself up some reminders, so you can also do that on the timeline. And then history, being able just to see adjustments you've made on your transaction. The three little dots at the top are going to allow me to apply a template. So if you have created your own personal templates, you can apply those templates either at the beginning of the transaction creation, or you can apply the template now. And by a template, it means it's going to add a possible to-do list that you've created, and it can also add forms, and it can also add documents on there. Okay. So just something that is available there to be able to add in very quickly the paperwork that you need and the to-do items that you need as well. So I've hopefully answered a couple questions. I've seen a couple questions pop up along the way. Um, so we are going to be diving deep into paperwork here in just a second. I do want to mention one thing just because I've seen this question a couple times, so it's worth me mentioning real quick. We are in talks with multiple companies, including Outlook, Google, DocuSign is one of those two that we're working to get connected with. We do have multiple CRMs that we're trying to get connected with right now. All of those syncs and all of those contracts just take time to work through. So while we don't have those features available yet, once we're able to work out the contracts with each of those companies, get those IDX feed sets set up, then those features will become available more and more in the system. We actually have everything ready to go on our side for DocuSign to be able to get integrated into the system. We are waiting for DocuSign to finish out some items on their end. So hopefully we'll see a DocuSign as an available feature too. Honestly, we're just waiting on their end there for them to finish out what they need to, and then we'll be able to have that integrated into the system as well. But when we talk about all the different CRMs that you would like to use, and also other systems, e-signature solutions or other items, we are working as hard as we can, and in many instances, we have everything ready at our side, but unfortunately, contract talks and all that, all those just take time. So we're hoping to be able to have a lot more features available very quickly, and hopefully they'll be able to get their items done pretty quickly too. Okay, so let's talk about paperwork. Paperwork is such an important part of the system. You can add forms and documents to the same page. So very similar to zip form. We just call it paperwork now. And so you're going to be able to access your main association of realtors library. I was trying to access, and I apologize that I wasn't able to get the main library on here for today's training. Hopefully, in any future sessions, we'll be able to get that resolved, and I'll have the main library available. For now, I'm going to have to use my educational example, which is my Florida Association. But for future trainings, I'm hoping to be able to have the main library added on, okay? But it's very easy, whether you have the main library or not, it's very easy to begin typing to find the exact item that you need. And so whether you are working on a specific buyer document, so like a buyer's disclosure statements or the exclusive right to represent and connect with a specific buyer there, or maybe it's the buy-sell agreement that you're working on there, it's very easy to be able to choose particular items. Let me make sure to grab the purchase here contract. And so contract for sale and purchase, of course, main association, they have their own. And so you would grab the desired forms. You can also upload any of the documents that you need, whether it was signed by the client by hand or whether it was a circumstance where like a lead-based paint or a disclosure that's on the MLS itself, where you're grabbing that item to be able to make it so that you could add the buyer's signatures on there. Okay. And yes, the forms are going to work exactly the same way as they did in zip form, where it's going to take the information for the details and auto plug that into the forms. And then when we get to Authentisign, it is going to automatically add signatures and checkmark boxes and everything you might need onto those forms. Anything that you have uploaded yourself, document items that you are bringing in, unfortunately, it's not going to have an automatic layout that's going to get applied. It's not going to be able to automatically add information in. But stick with me. We're going to go into Authentisign here in a second, and there's some tools that'll make it really easy to add signatures and to add everything I need onto my paperwork. Now, I added everything to a not filed here, where I didn't put it into a specific folder. But if you would like to add items into a specific folder, you just need to click on the three little dots and click to add that paperwork. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll grab my seller's disclosure too. And again, these are just educational examples. And I'll go ahead and grab this item just as an example here in a second. You can create your own folders if you'd like to organize this in a particular manner. You can drag and drop items wherever they need to go. Also, you'll notice it's a new open folder concept, unlike zip form, where sometimes you have to click into each individual folder, right? Trying to find a particular piece of paperwork. Instead, it's going to be where you can see all of the forms and documents that you need. If you want, you can minimize it quite easily, though, by clicking on the little arrow there. And you can also go here if you want to move the folders or delete or rename a folder as well. Something else that's worth noting, Transact does not have a mobile app because we have the next best thing. A mobile version of Transact where you just go in as a normal website. So why is this better? Is because we can make instant updates on there. And so for now for all you iPhone users that haven't been able to use the application in a mobile version, it's now available for all iPhone users, Samsung, whatever device that you're using. You will be able to use Transact, and it does work very easily on a mobile device. So, for example, let's say that your client did sign something by hand. You now can scan it with your phone, log into Transact, just like you normally log into the form there. Just go over to Transact, and then you're just going to be able to very easily add that paperwork directly from your phone. So it works whatever device that any cell phone device that is a newer device, if you're using an iPhone from 2000, I can't guarantee it's going to work. But any newer type device, Android, iPhone, all of it, and it's not an app. Don't search for an app to download. You're going to go to your normal browser window, your Chrome window, your Safari window, Firefox, just like you're searching for a casserole, just like you're searching for cat videos. Just go to your normal browser window and you can go right in, log in to the website, just like normal, just like you would do from a computer, but this time you're doing it on a cell phone, and you'll be able to go in and use the mobile version of the Transact tool. It's very easy to use. And I'll tell you, a lot of companies are starting to shy away from mobile apps just because of the certifications and such. And it's a little bit of a difficult process now, more and more difficult with apps. So we decided to go with with a website version because it's very easy for us to make updates on it, very easy for us to push updates to the website. So And it's easier for everyone to access no matter what type of device that you're on. So I use it on my Pixel. My coworker uses it on their iPhone. So whether it doesn't matter what type of device that you're on, okay?
John?
Go ahead.
Hey, it's Suzanne. I had somebody that, and sorry because I've got people texting me as well.
Uh,
Um, Somebody asked a question, will we still have templates preloaded forms for agents? So if you've had templates in zip forms, will they automatically move over to Transact?
a one-time move over will occur of where templates, so when you sign up for Transact, those templates should be able to move over from zip form into Transact. It's a one-time migration though. Unfortunately, it's not like transactions that constantly move over. It's just going to be a one-time move for templates and for contacts that are in your address book.
Thank
So
you.
just a one-time for those. Good question. Good question. All right, let's get to the forms editor. This will feel and look very, very familiar because we essentially took the zip forms editor and we copied and pasted it essentially. It's going to feel exactly the same. So for those that have been using zip form, yours is going to be like, okay, yeah, this nothing new on there. Minus two things, and these two things are going to make things way easier for you. Hopefully, my technical issues that I've had with my computer are not going to cause problems with this. So everybody has those days, right, where your computer's like, I'm not sure I want to work right today. I think I'm just going to make things as difficult as possible, right? And for my Dell, today is that day. So my apologies. Give it just a second to load. And if it doesn't, I'll just move over to a different login real quick and go in that direction. But um, yeah, see, this is what I thought. It's again, nothing that you would see on your end. It's just because my Dell wants to be a little difficult today, so my apologies. Let me just back out to the transaction just for a second and go back into that form. There we go. My apologies. You can't help it, right? Technology sometimes just decides when it wants to be difficult, and today's my day, it seems. All right, let's get into the forms editor. There's two things, like I said, that makes this forms editor a little different than the one in zip form. One, we did move over the workspace over here, and that's just to make things a little bit easier for you when it comes to adding what paperwork that you would like to see. And so you can easily add whatever paperwork or remove whatever paperwork that you need to, and then decide what order you want that paperwork in to be in just by dragging and dropping. And as I mentioned, this is exactly like zip form, okay? You can also add any forms or documents that you forgot. And just like zip form, there's going to be these blue areas that you can easily fill out all of your form with every single section, check mark boxes and everything. With the seller's disclosure, it's going to work exactly like zip form, where there's going to be minimal areas that you're going to fill out because the seller's disclosure, the seller is going to be the primary person filling it out. And you're going to do that through Authentisign. Okay. But for something like this is a purchase, sale and purchase here. Of course, you as the agent are going to be the primary person filling out the purchase agreement, right? So in that instance, you're going to have a lot of blue boxes to fill out. With a seller's disclosure, on the other hand, you're going to have just a couple small blue boxes to fill out because the seller is going to be the primary person filling that in. We do have, just like zip form, a spot to add clauses right here where you are going to be able to create your own personal clauses. If you are a broker over an office, you can also create office clauses. And when you create clauses, you'll then be able to go in and add them anytime that you need. Just add the clause. Very simple and easy to use there. I said that there were two areas that are different. The second has to do with split and rotate. Split and rotate. And that is a brand new feature within Transact that makes it really, really easy to adjust the order of the pages This is for an uploaded document. So, oh, and my apologies, Raylan. I didn't realize that with seller's disclosures that agents are the ones that fill out seller's disclosures. Is that what you're stating? I do work in all 50 states in Canada, so you'll have to excuse me if I did say something incorrect there. My apologies. It's a combination. Okay. But there are fields that I'm guessing the seller is going to be the primary person filling that out. Okay. Excellent. Let's go here though. So with this, you can move around the page order. You can also very easily cut or split files into multiple files. And this is going to be where you have maybe you have several pieces of paperwork that are combined together. In that instance, you can split them up into several files instead of having them as one combined file. Very easy to get everything split up this way. It'll keep the original, and then you're going to have your split files. Excellent. So I have a form that comes from my educational association here. Yours, of course, is going to come from the Maine Association of Realtors. And then I have a document example that I'm going to be using for Authentisign, okay? If this is an instance where I'm printing this for the client, I can easily print it. I do have tools for adding text, a text box here, for adding text onto my uploaded documents if I am going to be printing this out for the client. But let's say we're going to Authentisign. I'm going to go to Prepare Signing. As I mentioned earlier, we are trying to work with DocuSign to make it so that you can use DocuSign as well. We're just waiting for DocuSign to finish their end of it, and then we'll be ready to go with DocuSign. But for now, Authentisign, it is a member tool. Everyone will have access to it. I definitely give it a try if you haven't before. You're going to name the packet whatever you want to name it. I'm going to call this my purchase agreement. I'm going to spell it correctly or not. Here we go. Get that typing. Wow, what's going on? All right, return folder if you'd like it to go back to a particular place, or we're just going to hit create. Okay. Here we are. Authentisign is going to look exactly the same. So I'm just going to be able to add desired participants from the transaction. I'll just grab my buyers and hit select. I'm not going to dive too deep into this because again, this is something that is available in zip form. And if you would like to know more about Authentisign, we do have wonderful webinars that cover every piece of it. So I'm gonna go from signers here to docs. You'll notice everything does pop up automatically onto my purchase agreement here for my form, including signature fields. And as I was talking about with those disclosures, if there are fields that are supposed to be filled in by the seller and not by the agent, this is where those fields would populate. So I know I may have misspoken a little bit earlier, and thank you, Raylan, for mentioning that. But if there are specific fields that are supposed to be filled in by the seller, Authentisign is what's going to add those fields in. Okay.
I have
Now
I have a couple of questions.
you go ahead.
Sorry, I probably should have caught one of them before. It says you can't use the space bar to change a dollar or date field into a text field to enter, for
Yes,
example,
that's
NA in the
currently an
field. So how do you
upgrade.
do that
Yeah.
in Transact?
That's an upgrade item that we're going to be adding in a little bit later. They do know about that. And I think our developers, so we have kind of a mix of, again, we work in all 50 states and in Canada. Some MLSs don't allow you to add a zero. And so originally, I think they based it upon those rules, but because of the amount of MLSs that do allow you to add NA or zero, we do have a future upgrade that's going to be coming where I'm hoping that it's going to be here in the next couple of weeks. That's what they're hoping to, where you're going to be able to add zero and NA in those fields.
Okay, and then one other question. I'm sorry to take you off track,
Yeah, it's
but
okay.
will personal saved clauses that we have created in zip forms also transfer?
I believe that there will be a one-time transfer over of those clauses as well. But that migration piece on there is still being worked through for some of those clauses. So you may have to recreate, unfortunately, some of those personal save clauses. I know they're trying to make, I know office clauses is what they're trying to focus on, and specifically clauses that have been added in by the MLS. Those are the big ones that they want to make sure that they have that one-time migration. With personal clauses, currently you may have to recreate some of those, unfortunately, but hoping hoping that personal clauses that all of them will be able to move over soonish. So there's still, I know there's still some upgrades and some updates that we're still working on and making. That is why we wanted to give everybody early access into the system, and so that you can tell us what things are missing, including personal clauses, including the ability to add zeros onto certain fields. And so that's why we are not forcing anybody at this point to move from zip form to Transact. We want to give you early access so you can start creating some fake transactions, start getting used to it. Some of you may want to completely move over to the Transact system, but we do understand that there might be some items that, so there might be some items that are not available in the moment that we need to get added and upgrade and in there as soon as possible. And so that's why we don't want to force any upgrades at this point. Okay. So hopefully everybody understands we're trying our best to make sure that there is every single field that's required or needed. Okay. It is, and Nicole, it is completely officially ready to go. There are just some upgrades that people have asked for us to add or updates that people have asked us to add. If the ability to not be able to add zeros on there is something that's needed and necessary to make it so that you literally can't do what you need to do without it, then I understand that maybe for you, you may not feel like it's officially ready for you to be able to use. So I understand that. And that's why we are trying to push that upgrade as fast as possible. Okay, got it. Need to be able to add text to calendar, number and dollar fields, not just zeros. Okay, got it. Okay. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Nicole. I'm going to take this feedback to our developers, and so we can get that adjusted as quickly as possible. Hopefully we'll be able to make those really quick updates, okay? Um, let's move forward. As I got that written down, I'm going to make sure and bring that up that we need that adjusted. Let's go ahead though. I want to make sure we still have plenty of time to talk about property phases. So tools here will allow you to individually add. Now, one thing, whether you're using zip form Authentisign or you're using Authentisign within Transact, either way, there is this all signers tool where you can add signatures for everybody all at once and then drag it into place. And then we have full name here that you can do. So you can actually do this for everybody all at once. Again, this can go through Authentisign on here. We do have individual signer tools as well, checkboxes and radio choice. Again, I don't want to get too bogged down into Authentisign just because we do have one more area in property phases, and I want to answer any additional questions. Next here, myself, the myself tool, and hopefully nobody thinks I'm calling myself a tool here. This allows me to pre-sign my documents and forms. I know there was a collective groan from that joke, okay? We'll go ahead and real quickly add my signature on here and set signature. And then I'll just drag that into place real quick. One thing about document items like this, if there is an uploaded document that you constantly are needing to do the dragging and the dropping. By the way, this is available in both zip form and it's also available in Authentisign, okay? So yeah, so DocuSign, we are working on, we're just waiting for some things on the integration for the DocuSign side, okay? They have some things that they have to complete on their side, and then we can get it added into our systems. That's where we're at currently with them, okay? So as soon as they get their side of it done, then we'll be able to move forward. So there's a field called layouts. Instead of having to do the dragging and dropping over and over and over again, you can create a layout. And then the next time that you use that uploaded document, instead of having to do all that dragging and dropping again, just apply the layout. It'll add all the signatures. It doesn't matter if it's a new transaction, new contacts. Layouts here would make it so that it would auto apply everything on there. You have to do it the first time. So you do the dragging and the dropping the first time on your uploaded documents, things you pulled from your computer or your phone, okay? But after you create a layout, you can then just apply the layout from then on. We'll get this sent out.
Can I interrupt just to
Go
everyone?
ahead.
Authentisign is not included in the Maine Association of Realtors product. So that would be an added fee for individuals.
Right.
And
There's
DocuSign is
some,
still available at no
yeah,
charge.
yes. And so there's some brokerages that do use Authentisign separately. I should have clarified that. My apologies. Um, and so yeah, I'm going to skip over Authentisign completely. You can still fill out the forms and the document items, and then what you'll do is you're going to download them and then upload them into DocuSign. But we are working with that DocuSign integration. We are hoping to have that very, very soon so that you'll be able to continue to use DocuSign. Thank you. So here we go. We have our items here. Let's talk about the final piece, which is property phases. So let's say an offer does come in, and you sent in that offer, and let's say unfortunately the original offer was, well, let's say it was accepted actually. Let's say your offer is accepted. Great, right? But then unfortunately it fell through. This happens all the time where something has fallen through. So if you click on fell through, there is it'll take you to a new section here called deal fell through, reset and copy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark if anything is not going to continue forward into the next part of the process here. So I would keep certain items, but there's certain items that are connected to that offer that I might remove because I need to move forward to a completely different property. Okay. So what we can do is we'll push reset and copy. Um, so for now, let's go ahead and do that. It's not going to delete my offer that I turned in. Those lost deals will still be found on the left-hand side. And so you're still going to be able to see all of that paperwork. You're still going to be able to see all the offer details. You can even reopen that offer if you would like. But as far as the offer, what you're going to do now is you can just move on to the next property. So you have your lost deals here for any deals that didn't go through, but you're then going to be able to then import a new property and start over with the purchase process there, start over with the paperwork, and hopefully that offer will then get accepted. So you'll still find the lost deal here, and you'll actually be able to keep track of all of your lost deals under each one individually. On the listing side, it'll look just a little different just because the property details will never change, but you'll still be able to find any lost offers that came in that were unfortunately rejected or fell through at some point. And you'll be able to keep track of that under each of your transactions. So let's clarify a couple points here. First off, some offices do use the Authentisign tool, and so Authentisign is an integration that many of you may be using currently within ZipForm, and you will have that available in Transact. For those that are using the DocuSign connection, which I understand that completely, if you're using DocuSign, you may want to continue using ZipForm at this point for all of your paperwork, just because I know how seamless it is to go from ZipForm to DocuSign. What I would suggest doing while we're waiting for the DocuSign integration to get completed into Transact is I would just go into Transact and start creating a couple transactions. Go through the process, mark a couple items as fallen through, see exactly what it will look like on the Transact side. It's important to note, and I've said it a couple times, but some of you may have missed it earlier. We're not forcing a migration over to Transact at this point. We do understand that there are some definite key missing fields currently within Transact. Part of that is coming from things that you have suggested to us today, like the ability to be able to add text onto a calendar or add instead of being forced to put a specific date, being able to add text there instead or adding zeros into particular fields instead. Those kind of suggestions are amazing, and those are the kind of things that you're going to see added into Transact within the very near future based upon your suggestions. Also, integrations with DocuSign, integrations with other CRM systems. We're working as hard as we can to try to get those done as fast as possible. And we're just waiting on the DocuSign side. We're just waiting on them to finish their feed part so that we can then integrate it within Transact. In the meantime, still continue to use ZipForm, and I apologize for creating any confusion around that. Still continue to use ZipForm for that integration with the DocuSign system, and you will be seeing very soon, fingers crossed with DocuSign there, you will be able to see very soon that Transact to DocuSign integration as well. So as soon as they get it done on their side, then we will be able to move on. And then you'll be able to use the full suite of Transact, including the forms editor, straight into DocuSign as well. I'm glad that you all took some time out of your day to be able to connect, throw in these suggestions on there, throw in these, hey, these are more than suggestions, these are really needed in the system, because that's going to help me and that's going to help our development team make sure that this is all going to work properly. And I've also, I took down, I'm going to make sure to grab some of the chat here. I took down like, hey, whatever's going on with that integration currently, we need to make sure that we're on them every single day until we can get that done so that it will be a complete system for you to be able to use. In the meantime, please, please, please try out Transact, get signed up, test it out, tell us the areas that you would like to see or areas that you think needs that feedback. Send it over to Suzanne as she has that she so graciously provided her email address there, and we'll be able to take that down and hopefully get it integrated into our system here in the very near future. We do have help resources if you want to dive in deeper into the product, and we do have a support team if there are any technical issues that are popping up along the way. So if you have any technical problems, you can contact our support. You can also call them, and let me share that phone number. You can also call them or email them in the instance where there are any questions or anything of points of concern that come up. So I appreciate again everybody that took the time to connect. Suzanne, I think you may have some things you need to state as well.
Hi, John. This is Judy. I'm going
Oh,
to
Judy, hi.
over. Thank you for this very informational session. I think you did answer quite a few questions along the way, and I'm
Uh-huh.
sorry we don't have additional time for questions, but I encourage people to be watching MAR News for future learning opportunities that we will be doing more trainings. And this has been recorded, so people who have been listening can watch it again and share it with others. But this is a lot of information, and I think you covered it well. So thank you very much, John, and we look forward to having more informational sessions.
Yeah,
Okay,
and my hope is on the next session that a lot more of these integrations will be done so that you can see the complete system
that's right. It's all
moving.
a learning process, and we'll figure it out.
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you all.
everyone. Have a great day.